Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited today because today I have one of my favorite people ever. I have Tim Tactics, and a lot of you guys might know him or you might not know him, and he'll be new to you. And if he's new to you, oh my gosh, you have to check him out. He's on Cosmic Disclosure, and he's everywhere on Cosmic Disclosure. Tim Tactics is a governance expert from Europe with over 10 years of experience in the field with direct insider information on the subject of UFO disclosure and the ongoing Earth shift. I can't think of a better person to interview other than you, Tim. I'm so honored that you're here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Hey, did you just say I'm one of your favorite persons?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Great to be here, and I'm always happy to communicate with you. And I think everyone at home feels how much fun and happiness that is.
Well, I mean, you do so much for the community. What made you decide to start these All Shift Happily Now meditations? I mean, how did you decide to go about doing this?
Oh my goodness, I'm following a plan that I came up with 15 years ago, at least 15, more than that. I think it's 17 years now. So basically, so for everyone who doesn't know me, hi, I'm Tim. I'm coming from Europe. I was working in the covert governance scene in Europe. I learned about something that is going to happen on this planet currently, which might be, people might be aware of that because it's right in front of our eyes, which is the Earth shift. And I learned about that in these projects. I was kind of alarmed. I felt like, hey, we should prepare the population for what's going on. At that time, there was little to no interest in doing that. And in 2019, the policies changed a bit by making, independent field operators, which is the term, able to, they can just come forward and work on what's happening. And that's what I do. So basically, the plan was already existing 17 years ago to create a psionic field, to use everyone at home who's a strong meditator, a strong spiritual being. And we're all in here together. It's a mental process. The world, the earth is a mental construct. And when we put energy and mind energy into that mental mass, that's what it's called, we can create our own timeline. So I'm very eager to do that with these beautiful community, these participants, everyone who joins us, and you're a part of that too.
Thanks. Thank you. So what did you hear? I mean, what shocked you or what did you find out is happening to the planet?
Okay, so the projects that I was in was COVID governance, but also UFO agendas. So, or so-called exotic beings. That's what they call them. It's basically aliens, right? So it's aliens or ETs that are currently interacting with this planet, and that is more frequent than people might think when they only like watch mainstream news or something. But good news, even on mainstream news, we get a bit of the coverage of what's happening on the planet, and people, should see and learn that there's a lot of stuff going on. So what I learned 17 years ago is that the planet itself and the whole solar system and everything in the universe is like spiraling. It's moving through cyclical phases. And the sun, and if you look into newspapers, they will tell you the sun is increasing. Light has the physical property that it can carry information, data. So the more light we have, the more data is available, the more consciousness, the more it will affect the consciousness. And the planet itself went through this 15,000 years ago with these pyramid building civilizations that just disappeared into nowhere. 15,000 years ago, a big flood happened. This time it's not going to be a flood, but 17 years ago I was alarmed and I was feeling like, hey, we should talk to the population because this planet, even though it looks like a very material space, is made up by mental energy too. So if we do that and if we combine these energies, we can actually make a terrific and beautiful timeline for everyone on this planet. But again, at that time, there was no interest in that, and now I'm doing it.
Wow. What did, so what, who told you or how did you find out? Was it an extraterrestrial that told you, or what was your information that you received?
Yes, it was actually an extraterrestrial. So basically, for those who don't know me, there were two projects where we were working with so-called exotic life forms. Exotic life forms is basically everything that doesn't look human. So I was in projects where we were communicating with one of the most popular ET species, the Greys. Very frequent, very yeah, they appear a lot on this planet. We have statistics that over 30 million US American people have either interacted with them, have been contacted by them, or have seen traces or UFOs, which is probably the larger portion of this number. And they were talking about a big harvest that they were involved in 15,000 years ago. So some of these people 15,000 years ago that built the pyramids, that had 80 million houses in South America, that's only the number that we digged out of the soil. They disappeared completely. Where are they gone, you know? So there was like what they called a harvest, where certain individuals that were ready were removed from the earth and integrated into other civilizations, into other timelines, into other species as well.
Did they tell you why they did that or no?
Yeah, so the idea was at that time there was like ooh, that was a bell. Okay. Yeah, so the idea was that at that time they had an interest in, kind of splitting the timelines. So basically, this planet used to be and still is a very mixed planet, which is something that usually doesn't occur in the universe because we have sort of different frequential realms. So good people usually do not mix with bad people. But we unfortunately on this planet there is a so-called installation, which is a malevolent system brought from outside, and that makes you, and I'm talking to the viewers, be together with other people in random places, like in offices, you know? Or I don't know, schools, right? There are like people that are might be like super high frequential positive beings, and that they are brought together with other beings. So, and that creates chaos. So at that time, they thought that that would be like a natural process. Didn't know that that was actually something that was malevolently brought to this planet, and they were just removing people from this timeline. But that didn't really work out because in the end, the good people that thrived and developed had to go back and look for the isolated parts of the same Earth planet, and now we're
What
here.
do you mean by that? Why do they have to go back and look for these parts?
Oh, it usually, so it comes down to the fact that the universe, uni means one, and vertere in Latin means looking towards one. So it's a mirror process. So basically, there's just one big, huge life form that we are. There's not a well, at the moment, there's not a second life form. There's only just one universe. And you can't just get rid of parts of the same universe. So basically, all these beings on Earth were connected to the same collective experience. And that means you actually leave someone behind and they get isolated. So the only right decision for the universe was to go back. So here we are again. Here we are again. We have a mixed planet. There are very, very advanced spiritual beings, teachers, and light workers. And then there's like a big portion of people that are still in the veil. which is, the apocalypse, which means, removing the veil. So basically, we went back, and now we're here.
Oh, wow. And so what happens if we go through the shift and the people in the apocalypse timeline don't change their perspective? Do we have to do this again?
Yeah, probably we would have, but there were some changes. For example, the malevolent installation has been removed, and there's also a strong intention to just shift happily, all shift happily, right? So that's
Right.
the idea. We want all of them to shift happily, whatever that means, and wherever they develop to. That's the reality that we look at today.
These beings that would speak with you, did they have an agenda? Like, did they want to help or what? Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah. I mean, everyone in the universe, more or less, like every person has an agenda too. So, if you look at this planet, there are like billions of agendas, right? Like huge ones, collective ones,
Right.
group ones. You have certain institutions; they have agendas. So yeah, so the most common question, one of the most common questions that I usually get is like, "Hey Tim, why are they here?" Well, depends, right? So why are people, they might have different motives, right? And motivations to do certain stuff. But if you look into, for example, the Greys, they consider themselves as a gardening race, which means that they look at the universe as a garden, and they want to make sure that every plant grows in its own way. So establishing diversity and making that possible. They also consider it, depending, if you talk to a governance or government group or a military group, they might say like, "Hey, that's a bit invasive." So invasive. Um, Being six, which is a so-called interfrequential life form, an experimental life form that we talk to, um, that is more like a place. It's a place that is alive where we all go to, if we have the same mindset. So we might all have different timelines. You said it before. You might have a different timeline than I have a different timeline, which I doubt. I think we have the same one. But we all end up in the same space, if we agree on certain parameters. And being six is just like the representation of all ourselves, and that's very benevolent. That is a very good and positive motif to be.
Wow. And so did being six have a shape and a form? Or was being six beyond form? Because you hear six dimension and you hear there is no form there.
It's both. Form always depends on the one who's observing it. So, in on this planet, we have a certain restriction towards certain uh, sets of data. It's just like comparable to when you have like a very old school 90s TV set, and then you try to watch your newest 8K uh, I don't know, movie on that. It's probably not gonna work, right?
Right.
But you can make it work. I've seen like people that watch like YouTube on an old school Game Boy, right? They just integrated some modules and now it's streaming onto the display. But that means it's like very pixelated and it's in this, brownish yellow Game Boy color that these huge thingies used to have. So it's the same thing with being six. They had machinery like coils that were able to compress the frequencies, and through that you can actually convert some and stream some of the pictures into this reality. So I was observing and witnessing a real 3D life form, but what you see always depends. I was always seeing like these really crisp blue geometric patterns. But I also introduced this life form to another friend of mine, and he was seeing a blue human being. So something completely different.
So fascinating. Where did you go to see this being? Can anyone see this being?
I believe so. It was my strong belief that everyone can see that, and they have a strong like being six has a tremendous history and very profound history with humanity, and you will see that blue beings are apparent everywhere. You know, the
Right.
Sumerians, the Hindu, they all have these blue human beings. The color blue actually comes from compressing frequencies. So as we know, light, is a certain frequency. If you compress that, you get a majority of blue light into your optical vision. But uh, so usually so it all comes down to compressing frequencies, and this planet has natural occurring flows of energy and frequencies all around the year, and at certain times, meaning the equinox times, these frequencies at certain places, very highly spiritual sites, these frequencies get compressed naturally, and then you can actually make contact in a visual 3D manner and see these beings. So
Wow. So maybe during the equinox, go to one of these places
yes,
and then,
absolutely. I was actually doing that with a friend at a very at a typical I mean a very not very famous, but it used to be like the highest spiritual place in Germany. The the other the Reich Germans or whatever, they were building certain spots there too, and after the war, this area was more or less like a ghost area, and people
oh,
usually don't know about it, but it's very
what
connected to
is it?
Stonehenge too. So
Wow.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
on the
What's,
same line. And I believe that you can possibly, I've never done it, but you possibly can make direct contact at these sites like Stonehenge, potentially too.
did you make contact when you went to that place in Germany or no?
Yes, absolutely.
You
We did
did
that.
just by going on the equinox?
What's that?
Wow, I want to try this. So you
Yeah.
went on the equinox and then did you have to do something?
So breaking the secrecy, I know we talked about this before, but that would be so Sarah and I, we talked about maybe doing like a live conference. It's not yet set up, but that would be pretty amazing.
Why don't
And
we do this during the equinox?
that would be actually pretty cool. I don't know if that is possible. If we find like a so basically the spot nowadays has like it became the town there is like a ghost town. No one's living there anymore, but it became like a natural one of the biggest yoga communities in Germany, which is super interesting. It's
That's
actually one of the biggest yoga communities in the world too, with over 10,000 people practicing yoga there. Um, and that would be, one of the spots that I think would be like an amazing spot for an All Shift Happily Now conference.
I think we should do it. But
Yeah.
what other projects are you working on right now?
Oh my goodness. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that I'm working on. So, one of the things that I'm doing with a friend of ours, Sarah Zula, is the so-called Ticket to Ride course, because we've seen that people have these weird spiritual moments at times, and some of them just want to learn more, and some want to be in their full powers too. And we decided to do that with them over like a time period of 3 months. We guide them into that. Sarah is doing amazing work on purification, so which is one of the major things that we all need to do. We need to get rid of some of the stuff that this malevolent systematic installation has brought onto us. So we need to get rid of that. We also need to learn some of the stuff. What is this reality? Where are we? And how can we make this work for us in the beautiful way that it's actually designed to be? And then the third thing is we use a very powerful audio tool that is actually also used in some of the advanced projects. As we all know, everything is frequency. If you play the right frequency, you can actually bring reality into motion. And in these big projects, they take a lot of billions of tax dollars and euros and build these machineries. But we brought this down to the principle and used the body as a multiplicator for that. So basically bringing the atoms slowly but steadily into vibrations and raising the frequency of the being. That is one of the things that I'm doing. And then I'm also doing a lot for All Shift Happily Now community on Instagram. If you haven't followed me, I'm at tim.tactics on Instagram, doing a lot of spreading a lot of wisdom there, 1 minute clips and community events. And interested in doing more stuff for Europe too, very soon. So that's what I'm doing.
I'll put all the links below so that you can find out what Tim is up to and make sure you follow him. And that class sounds amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining me. And I really want you to come back again because you're so fascinating. I'm sure everyone is going to just like want more. If
Thank you
you want
so much.
more, comment below.
Comment, want more. I will
Yeah,
come
want
back.
more.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. And he has 10 years of XP. Am I saying that right?
Experience.
I'm starting over.
It's going to be on the record. So
No, you can cut that out. Right? Oh, can you?